Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ravenstar's Witching Hour. I'm your host and head witch, Miss Solaris BlueRaven, at the helm this evening. And John, you've got feedback over there, so you might have to shut something off.
Is that better?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, hang loose just a second here. Just want to give a shout out to everybody at Revolution Radio, staff, producers, listeners, chat room, and thank everyone for tuning in tonight. We are 100% listener supported, so if you like what you're hearing, please click on the donate button. We appreciate your support, and thank you for any contribution you can make to this excellent station. I will be accepting calls in the last half hour of the show. If you would like to call in, the number is 347-688-2902 or Freedom Screen on Skype, and you are listening to Studio A. And my special guest this evening is John Savage. John Savage is the founder of the Minnesota Paranormal Investigators, which was formed in 1991, which is the longest-running paranormal group in the state of Minnesota. He has over 22 years of experience as a paranormal investigator. He has investigated many locations across the United States, including the Sunken Mile Battlefield, Fredericksburg, Virginia, the historic Mounds Theater in St. Paul, Minnesota, and many other locations in the upper Midwest. He has also investigated several locations in England and also in Cyprus. He is also the co-founder of a Cross Borders Paranormal Investigation Tours that offers paranormal tours in the state of Minnesota. He has been trained by Echo Bodine for ghost busting and uses the following abilities in his cases: Clairvoyance, Clairaudience, and Clairsentience. At times, John has performed channeling and acted as a medium. John uses a very logical approach when it comes to investigating a location that is presumed haunted. He looks for a normal explanation before jumping to the paranormal realm. John also became an ordained minister in 2012, and his website is MinnesotaParanormalInvestigators.com. And please welcome John to the show this evening. And I've got technical issues. Hang on, you guys. If you're still listening, hang on real quick, and I will resolve this. Hang on just a second, guys. We're having a bit of a technical issue here. Just a ghost in the machine, trying to get John back. He was playing with his Xbox. That could have been a problem. Give me a few seconds here, and I'll get him back. Oh, he's got something going on here. Well, talk about a ghost in the machine, huh? That's very, very interesting. All right, everybody, hang loose. Give me about 2 seconds here. Still can't get a hold of him. That's really odd. Hang on with me for a second, guys. The fact of the matter is, I cannot get this guy to answer. Got a real problem here. Well, occupy yourselves for 2 seconds while we decide what we're going to do here for a minute while I get him back. I just talked to him. Hang on, guys. One moment. Hang on, guys. I'm still trying to get a hold of him here. Can you hear me? Hang on. Hello? John, you there? Very odd, you guys. The call is not going through. Give me a few seconds while I try to get him on his cell phone. How annoying. Okay, well, just bear with me. You guys entertain yourselves for about a few seconds here while I try to get John back. Apologize for the technical issues. Not sure what's going on. Well, he's offline. He might be rebooting right now. Hang on just a second. I'm going to call his cell phone. Well, that went quick, didn't it? Hope everybody's doing well out there. Okay, we're going for the cell phone, you guys. This is ridiculous. Still not working. This is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Well, we may not have a guest tonight until I can get him back. It's very, very odd. All right, I'm calling his cell phone. Hopefully he's going to be able to answer that. It's very, very weird.
Hello?
Hi, what's going on over there?
Oh, we just lost power to the house.
Holy cow. Is that normal?
Not really. I mean, we've got a blizzard coming through, so I got a feeling something hit one of the power lines.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. What timing? Dude, we were just talking. I'm like, what is
going on?
on?
I heard you talking, all of a sudden the lights just flickered, and I went, uh-oh, here we go.
You know, we got some real wild energy happening over here. Well, are you okay to talk on your cell? I don't want to waste your battery.
Oh, no, we're good. We're good on that.
And do you have candles and everything?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. Hello, everybody.
Hi. Yes. Hey, hi. So, thanks for waiting, everyone. I apologize. We've had an interesting event happen here. So is everything okay at your house, though, to conduct the interview? I want to make sure it's all right.
Oh, yeah, everything's good.
Okay. Well, I hope your power comes back on. Maybe you just fried everything with the Xbox. What's that?
Yes. It'll come back on pretty soon.
Okay. Yeah. So you guys have a winter storm right now?
Yep. We've got a nice little blizzard coming through, and we're going to have wind chills down to minus 50, 60 below zero again. So it's going to be a little chilly here.
60 below, that's super chilly. That's pretty intense, huh?
Yeah, but you know what? We live up in Minnesota, so we're used to it.
Yeah, you're used to that cold weather. Well, let's get started here and talk. We have a lot of things to cover, and we'll just kind of roll with the energy as we're moving here. But let's talk about what you've been up to this past year. Anything exciting?
Well, it's been quite quiet for us for the past year, which is good. It's given us time to reflect on our abilities and also to hone in our investigation skills.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of doing, 4, 5, 6 investigations a month, we kind of cut down to one investigation every 3 months.
That's all right.
And that's which is easier for us because we can focus on one case for that 3-4 month period and actually document and get the results that we're looking for versus doing what I call the McDonald's investigation. You get in and get out.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Excellent.
So
okay.
We've been somewhat busy, but this year it's going to be a good year for us.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good year too, actually. Well, the numerology for 2014 is a 7, so that's a spiritual number. So yeah, it'll be better than last year. That's my prediction anyway. So. But we're going through so many changes. We talked about a little bit about, not to get too much into the away from the paranormal, but we did talk a little bit about possible ice age coming down the pike and some other weird things that are happening in the United States alone. So I don't know if you want to elaborate on anything pertaining to that, but it seems like we're going through some strange waves here right now on this planet.
Yeah, I think we are. I mean, a little mini ice age. I think that's going to happen, or maybe we're in the beginning stages of it. Because it's been cool, at least up here up in Minnesota for the past couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, we didn't even have a spring. It went from winter to fall, spring, then back to fall. So we didn't even have a good growing season. It was always cold, very wet, which is not normal. People are saying, it's global warming, things are happening, the earth is heating up. I don't see it up here. It might be heating up down south, but not up here in the upper Midwest.
Right. I don't see it in Colorado either because we have the similar thing where we're getting cooler temperatures too, and seasons are not the same, not like they used to be. That's for darn sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember it being this cold here in Minnesota. I've been here since '89.
Yeah.
And, having the governor shut down the schools because it's just too cold for the kids to walk to school, I mean, that's unheard of. And then with all the cold air hitting down in the southern states, and they're not even used to it, it's weird. There's a big change happening both in the climate and also in our daily lives. I think this year people are going to become more aware of their surroundings. Their eyes are going to open up and see what is actually happening to the world.
I agree with that too. And do you have a backup system, by the way? I mean, it's going to get cold over there. I'm a little more concerned about you than I am the show right now, but I just want to make sure. I know you're out of power, so do you have heat? I mean, do you have a backup system, backup generator?
Oh, no, we don't have that. The town that we're in, if the power goes out, it's probably out for maybe half an hour, 45 minutes.
Good.
So I'm not up. There we go.
Excellent.
Hey,
all right. Yeah. Weird, man. That is so weird. Well, good. I'm glad it's back up, but yeah, let's not lose you again. I don't know if I should go back onto your Skype line or not. Maybe we should stay with the cell phone for now.
Yeah, let's just stick with the cell phone.
Okay, that sounds good to me also. Yeah, I don't want to lose you again on that. That was kind of I was wondering why I couldn't get you back, because normally I can get people pulled right in. I was like, this isn't right. So glad you're here anyway, and sharing the night with us and all this interesting, spooky stuff that started off, even if it's just a power outage. Quite interesting with the timing.
Oh yeah, I thought maybe the ghosts in the house was acting up. They're
Yeah.
like, hey, let's just get something going. But no.
You know,
No,
the last
that's
time
nature.
the last time you were on my show, weirdness was happening. I remember we had some strange energetics that were happening, but we'll see. But kind of
Oh,
fun. Yeah. So what would you say? Has there been an increase in anomalous activity, or no?
in
Just
the
as an
world in
assessment.
general,
Yeah.
I think it's always been the same. I don't think it's increased. I think the people are becoming more aware
Mm-hmm.
of anomalies, and that's why it's being reported even more. I don't think it's an increase. I think it's just awareness.
Yeah. I think you're right about that. They're getting more and more perceptive. Although there's some that are just kind of still sleepwalking, from what I've seen, what I call the zombie mode. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Oh
lot.
yeah. Those people will wake up to sooner or later. I mean, they're going to start seeing things. Like I said, I think there's going to be a more increase in sightings with maybe UFOs this year than paranormal ghost stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think the paranormal hauntings and stuff is going to begin to kind of die out pretty soon. No pun intended. You're not going to hear a lot about it, but now you're going to hear more about the UFOs, and maybe the Bigfoot phenomenon might be coming back in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense to me too. Well, with multidimensional sight comes more anomalies and things like that, and what I call parallel bleed-through effects from other dimensions and universal energies. So I'm not surprised if people start seeing more and more. But I think it goes way beyond that, because I was kind of looking at the UFOs too, and I'm thinking to myself, this is all a distraction. It's all pulling people's attention away from something bigger. And even though it's a nice little light show now and then, there's something else happening behind the scenes, and that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking for the big source energy. I'm not messing around too much with the UFOs. I find them very interesting, but I'm not playing into the distraction game, and I think that's what's happening.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something going on, and I'm not big into conspiracy theories, but I think there's something going on with our society, and we're being distracted by these little petty things and not seeing the bigger picture.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree with that. Yeah, absolutely. It's a big masquerade.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like, the Wizard of Oz scene. Don't pay attention behind the man behind the curtain. Look at the big event that's in front of you. And it's like, no, there's something not right here.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Yeah, they're chasing paper tigers. That's what I've seen for several years now. Everybody's kind of lost in a different mode. So I've been kind of looking at things from a spy bird level, Right now I'm just assessing things and observing quietly. I'm not really making a whole lot of points in any one direction, but I am observing. And I do think we are going through some strange cycles right now, and some strange mind games, and a little bit of, controlling mechanisms that are happening behind the scenes.
Oh, yeah. When I'm doing my paranormal investigations, I'll ask questions that's related to current events. Are you aware of, the date, or if there's been some sort of natural event like that, let's say a tornado or an earthquake? Are you aware of that, to see if they can pick up on it? And once in a while, I'll get a yes to that, which tells me they're aware of the bigger picture. That they can sense or see something happening that we cannot.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll ask questions like, as a society, are we in trouble? Do we need to listen to our inner voices? And sometimes the spirit will say yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can agree with that. Yeah.
So I think something is coming down the pike, and I'm a little worried.
Mm-hmm. Likewise. Yeah, I'm concerned too, because it doesn't, I'm not a doom and gloom kind of being, but I do see some dark tides ahead. I mean, I've been very honest about it. Although 7, this is a good year for change in spirituality on a higher level. I see a lot of other things happening, and unless people really get up to speed in consciousness, it's really what it boils down to. It's more of a higher consciousness thing, and letting go of this lower astral junkyard that they're all attached to.
Oh, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. I mean, there's so much heaviness right now in the environment, both, in the physical and the spiritual environment, that, everyone is just being bogged down. They're I don't want to say they're not acting normal, because what is normal, but it's almost like they're disconnected from themselves and from society and what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. Yeah,
You
almost
know?
programmed. For sure. I noticed that when I went down into town just yesterday. It was just like everybody's in a trance and they're acting very strange. And I thought to myself, I almost feel like I'm just on the wrong planet, in the wrong universe, on the wrong. It's like an episode of Sliders. Remember that series where they're always in an alternate universe and dimension? It's just like, man,
Oh,
everything
yeah.
just seems really, really off to me. And I feel very expanded, like I'm really not supposed to be here. It's really interesting. And I've noticed that more and more around large groups of people and crowds and cities.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, something's going to pop this year. And, I started to watch the news again and seeing what's happening, on the other side of the planet over in Russia with the Winter Olympics, with the terrorism there, the rioting in one of the Soviet states, which I was surprised to see. It's not looking good, and that's a little worrying for me.
Mm-hmm.
Something's not right.
Yeah. Well, there's that saying, always make friends with change, and I usually do that as long as it's on a higher overtone, not a lower one. And that's what we're looking at. I think we're looking at dividing energies and of light and dark, and of not necessarily dark or evil, but or evil is separate from dark, but you know what I mean? There's a division going on right now, and I've sensed that for a very long time, but I think that's what's really happening, is that there are sides and lines being drawn, and these lines are dimensional. So things like that are shifting. And then there's the parallel bleed-through effects, but, cause and effect, what people manifest, they create. So you've got a lot of dysfunctional entities around, which I call people, who are putting out some really bad stuff to the planet and to the universe.
Oh, yeah.
Energetically, talk about haunted. I'm wondering how much is really haunted. How many people are actually haunted by their own energy fields versus a real spirit or ghost?
Exactly. Exactly.
I don't know if you come across that very often when you do your investigations, but I would imagine, how many of these people actually have a real case versus a psychological issue, where they're pulling in some entities because of their behavioral patterns.
Well, I think on some of the cases we've come across, we found out that there wasn't a true haunting, as in a soul that was in the house, but it was the clients who, on a subconscious level, was, I don't want to say wishing the haunting to happen, but they were causing the events. They were getting so worked up because they were watching these TV shows like, Ghost Adventures and Ghost Hunters and stuff like that. They see stuff on TV, and then all of a sudden they're thinking, oh my God, is that in my house?
Right.
And they get so worked up that they begin to cause these events.
I believe that. Yeah, they bring it in. Fear will bring it in too. If they're afraid of something, it'll just completely, it's like Velcro. It'll stick right to a person if they project that kind of fear. Absolutely.
Yeah, and if you're a person who's very, open to, bad influences, you get scared a lot and things like that. And there are entities out there, which I call wanderers, which will look for people like that. You're inviting them in. They're seeing you going, hey, I can scare her or him. I'm going to go plug them and make the situation worse.
Oh, yeah, I believe that. And what do you do to rectify that situation when you come across people like that?
Education.
Yeah.
We sit down there and we'll sit down with the client after a lengthy investigation and show them the results. Saying, your EMF readings in the houses are normal. There's no EVPs whatsoever. And then we'll do our baselines over the past couple of weeks and say, everything's normal. This is what we think is happening. We notice that your behavior is different, and you're always talking about, you've seen this show, that show, what have you. And we sit down with them and say, you need to calm down. And it becomes more of a counseling event.
That's great.
And after, a couple of hours conversation and also following up with the client, the events will just stop. Because they realize that it was them that was causing the events.
Yep. I can see that too. And a lot of thing is, people don't realize how much control they really do have over a situation, especially when it comes to atmospheric conditions. But if they understand higher consciousness, they can reset their entire environment. And I'm sure you're aware of that because you do that, I'm sure, for your clients, Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. When we're dealing with our clients, we'll try and do a meditation. because we've noticed that when a client is calling us or any other paranormal group, they're scared.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking for someone who has answers.
Right.
And the first thing that we have to tackle is that fear. So we have to sit down with them and talk to them, explain to them what's going on, what is the paranormal, what is it that they might be encountering. But at the same time, we have to really put their life under a microscope and look at, is there something within that family dynamic that's causing these events or these fears, and then sit down with them and try to get them to relax. Mm-hmm. That could be also, bringing in someone from the church that they're familiar with, having them find, medical counseling, mm-hmm. or even doing meditation with them.
Right.
Which we've done many times, where we have to sit down and for 2-3 hours and go, okay, let's do some meditation before we do the investigation to see if we can get them to calm down.
Mm-hmm. And how does that go?
It's a hit and miss at times. It all depends how open they are to the meditation, because in their mind, it's something normal. I mean, it's something that's not normal for them, but normal for us. Mm-hmm. And they might get a little apprehensive about it for a few minutes. We just have to keep educating them. You have to keep doing it. You have to relax.
I'm glad you do that, because a lot of people don't. They make their clients codependent on them, and it's nice that you're working on the self-empowerment and the assessment on a different level.
Well, I tell everyone this one phrase, and this is from I believe it was FDR. You have nothing to fear but fear itself.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
And if you're not afraid of that fear, you have just overpowered everything in that house that you're afraid of. The spirit, the ghost, bad things. You have just wiped it off, because you're now in control of the situation. And that's, as an investigator, that is the primary goal of our group, of any investigator, is to give the client the control back to their house, or back to their life.
Yeah, that's very, very critical. And even in everyday life, I mean, not even around the paranormal, but I mean, they should be self-empowered through everything they do in life. Every decision they make. And I think that they've given their power away to so many different areas, whether it's government or religions or whatever it is. They're giving power away, but they're not becoming self-empowered and understanding the bigger picture behind everything. It seems, anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's really, really interesting. I love the work you're doing. You know what I like about you is that you're very genuine, and there's no foo-foo. It's funny because we talked a little bit. Well, we didn't talk on air, but we have discussed a little bit about the other areas where there seems like there's a little bit of corruption along these paranormal groups here and there. I don't know if you want to address that or not, but what's going on with other groups?
Well, I've noticed in the 23 years I've been doing this, the environment in the paranormal field has changed. Mm-hmm. There used to be the groups of the true paranormal investigators, and those are the ones who would go up to someone's house, to a cemetery, excuse me, and conduct actual scientific field work. Okay? Mm-hmm. Now, since you had TV shows like Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures, and shows like that, these little groups are now popping up, and I call them the para-entertainer groups because they're going out for the entertainment value. Mm-hmm. They want to go to a house that's haunted to experience things. And I love it when I see these paranormal groups saying we use scientific technology and scientific methods. No. If you ask them what a scientific method is, they can't tell you. They go in with all these fancy equipment, which they have no knowledge of how to work or how to use, and say, yep, your house is haunted. Mm-hmm. And when you tell a client, yes, the house is haunted, the client's going to say, okay, now what? And 99% of these groups can't answer that. So go into the house, stir things up, and then tell the client, your house is haunted, good luck, and leave.
Oh, gee.
And that's wrong.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
Now, on the flip side of that, and again, I blame a lot of these TV shows, is you've got places that are quite haunted, and the owners of these establishments are now using that haunting, especially if the TV show has been there, to make money.
Mm-hmm.
Which, ethically, that's wrong. If let's say I have a hotel, for example, okay, and it's haunted, and I have tours every week there, I'm doing a disservice to the spirits there, because I'm using them as a tool for me to make money, and also making a mockery of them,
Mm-hmm.
turning it into a three-ring circus.
Right.
And there's a place here in Minnesota, which, as a group, we have basically walked away from, because that's exactly what they're doing. The person got famous because of a certain TV show going there. Now she does all the paranormal tours there, but she's being, keeping an eye on the spirits there. Let them be at rest.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Well, I think it comes to lack of respect for the afterlife and ethics.
Exactly.
And there's a saying, walk gently on this earth, and I think there's a lot of truth to that. I mean, this is a very complex consciousness that we live on, called a planet.
Yep.
And a lot of beings live here,
Yep, and everything's tied into each other.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And, in places like, Waverly Hills and God, I'm trying to think of another place that's quite famous. The Axe House down in Iowa. These are souls that at one time were alive.
Mm-hmm.
And for us to go bother them is wrong. To be there and say things like, silly things. Can you make this ball move?
Mm. Asking for trouble.
If we were very spiritual people, we should say, you know what? Let me help you. You need to be at rest.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You need to make that transition.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. You've heard of crossing rituals, right?
Refresh my memory.
It's one that, we do it, obviously I'm Wiccan and I work with covens, but we do rituals where we're actually opening up a gateway for them to cross over. And we use the archangels, and we hold the quarters for them to ascend. And I have seen things out of that is just amazing for spirits to move on that have been trapped. So there's something to be said for a crossing ritual. And there's something to be said for allowing these spirits that have been lost or disoriented, because there is disorientation, to move through this vortex into the light and be escorted by the higher celestials. They're not being lost. They're not going to get lost in a vortex of something else. So it's very, very interesting and very effective, and it's done with respect. And I think that's really important.
Now, on the flip side of that is, I'm going to use my house as an example, okay?
Mm-hmm.
The spirits in the house are here because to them, this is their, quote, heaven.
Mm-hmm.
So if we come across a situation like that where the spirits have returned to whatever location for whatever reason because it brings them peace and this is their version of heaven, then leaving them there is fine.
Mm-hmm. Right.
They're at peace. But when you're at places like, a sanitarium, where you've got souls that were confused in the living and they're still confused in death, you don't need to make a mockery out of them. Mm-hmm. You don't need to be disrespectful.
Exactly.
That could be one of our children from a past life still stuck there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I would be very upset if I knew one of my relatives were stuck there in spirit form, and people were letting other people come in, walk around with microphones and, parlor tricks saying, talk to me or make yourself known or, show yourself to me and I demand you to come after me, things like
mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah, taunting. It's like a circus.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
And, again, it comes down to ethics. You
Exactly.
have to be very, gentle with these people. Show them respect. Be respectful.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of groups that are out there don't get it.
No, not at all. I think there's a new breed of people, and they're just not courteous or respectful. And I hate to sound like an old, I don't know, I guess maybe I am old. But, I grew up with class and courtesy and respect, and
Yep.
I don't see that anymore, not even for those who have departed. Very disrespectful, arrogant, self-absorbed, and very toxic people, really. A lot of them are.
Oh, goodness gracious, yes. I mean, I just saw a couple of postings on Facebook, which is the worst place to be half the time, where, they talk about paranormal unity, which I think is a joke. I mean, that's just another way of, let's try to get along, but we're going to talk about you behind your back anyways. And there was this one gentleman, I don't know who he is or where he's from, but he was bashing the groups because they were questioning his techniques. And he was saying things like, I have over 5,000 listeners, and I have done over 1,000 investigations, and I have, proof that, that you cannot, disprove. And that's like, come on, dude.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be that para-celebrity.
Right. Yeah, it's ego-driven.
It is. And if that's why you want to get into the paranormal, then please go do something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Stay in
and
Hollywood.
Those people, and those other groups who are coming out saying, hey, I want to help people. Well, if you really want to help people, go help at the soup kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're dealing with the spiritual world, and as you probably have encountered, there's things out there that if you're not prepared, if you're not spiritually strong, it can go bad for you.
Oh, absolutely.
And it can go bad for the client.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely.
And a lot of people don't see that or understand it.
No, that's the sad thing is they're calibrated for a linear world, and a lot of the things that they do, their approach to anything paranormal or even multidimensional is based on their own linear teachings, which is really ignorant, quite honestly. I mean, they really have to understand with multidimensional sight and eyes and higher intuition about what's really out there and the other life forms out there,
I mean, I was helping this one group, and I asked them the first question, how are you conducting an investigation? Where are you getting your knowledge from? And their response was, oh, I got it from ghost hunters.
Oh.
And I just went, oh, my God, no, please stop. Whatever you're doing, go do something different.
Yeah. Yeah. It can't be a role model.
Say again?
I said it couldn't be. I mean, television cannot be a role model for people. They just can't do that. Obviously you've studied with, you've obviously learned and studied on this path, and myself as well. I mean, we don't learn from TV. That's not a role model.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, most of my learning that I've done is, lots of reading.
Mm-hmm.
Talking to other people.
Right.
Taking classes, with Echo. Well, up here we had Echo Bodine, who I just loved to death.
Yeah.
And I was nervous going in. I didn't believe in that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But as an investigator, I had to open myself up so I can understand what that is. Mm-hmm. And then I stumbled onto my ability and went, hey, there is something to this. This is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's amazing when you start opening up those doors.
Oh, yes.
And they don't close.
Oh, yes. Well, using your abilities like experts is like a muscle. Mm-hmm. The more you use it, the stronger you become. Yep. When you don't use it, just like the regular muscle, you get a little flabby.
Mm-hmm. Very true. Yeah. That's a good analogy. That's why I wish more people would be tuned into their multidimensional selves, so they're able to understand this. Because when when everybody departs and transfers out, they're going to have to understand how to navigate. That's huge.
Oh, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. I mean, one of the new things that I'm going into, and I think my group's going to tag along, hopefully, is I'm going to get back into past life reincarnation.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
Because there is so much that we can learn from the past lives, from everything from our hang-ups to even to learning how to be compassionate again.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
Learn how to love correctly. How to smile. Mm-hmm. Bring up those old feelings that that you're afraid to show in this lifetime.
Very true. And I guess there was some talk about what goes on in between the spaces of past lifetimes after you transfer out and you go into that other zone. And that would be interesting too, even the cataloging of information that we acquire in between worlds before we enter back onto another planet.
Oh, yes.
I mean, it's really
and that's the other thing with hauntings and multidimensional is, are these people, are they just really us on a different level, or can they travel from this world to another world?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I mean, there's so much that we can do and learn in the paranormal, but everyone is so afraid to do it,
right.
Or they won't put them on TV.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing that I'm hoping to do this year, especially through EVPs, is ask questions. Is there life outside of this realm, as in on different universes, different planes, different planets?
Mm-hmm.
Because
exactly.
if anyone would know, they might know.
Oh, yeah, they would know. I mean, yeah, they're getting a different view. They're spy birds, too. They're looking from a different parallax view on a different dimension. You know, it's quite interesting. And the fact of the matter is, I mean, there's communication established back and forth from these dimensions with these beings, whether they're ghost spirits or whatever. I mean, they're obviously connecting to a link somewhere where we can navigate and communicate beyond the illusion of space and time. So I find that very fascinating. Wow, I'd like to hear more about that. The more information you get, and descriptions too. If you can get some good descriptions of where they're at, what it looks like where they're, you know. I don't know if you've ever done that.
I'm thinking about getting into that. I saw a TV show on History Channel 2, and it was called Beyond the Soul or something like that. And they had this one paranormal team out of England, and I'll have to find out the name of them, but they were able to do meditation and get audio and video recordings of their trances, if you would.
Mm-hmm.
And they were getting beings that, I'm getting goosebumps as I'm talking about this, that were telling them about a different dimension. And there was one video that that was being recorded by an independent group, where you can see a face with this really weird eye, looking left and right. I mean, I'll have to find it, and I'll send you a link to it.
Yeah, would you?
It
very interesting.
Weird, but they were saying how to build certain devices, how to use crystals. Mm-hmm. It was just really neat, and they kept saying there's more to life than what you see on your own realm.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, it reminds me of automatic writing a little bit. You know.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is kind of fun. I've done that in the past, and that's just weird.
Yeah, I've done that too. Yeah. Did you do that as a child?
You know, I don't remember a lot of it from my childhood. I remember describing things that, excuse me, let's say, you know, when I was a kid living in Germany, you know, we would go to certain places, and I could see what it was back then. Mm-hmm. Than what it is now, but I could never do the automatic writing. I could have conversations, but that's about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting because those of us who wind up doing this type of work, whether it's, you know, I've taken on different levels of paranormal, but I started off doing, when I was little, I used to do a lot of that naturally. I mean, I just naturally had the vision and the psychic ability and was naturally able to automatic write, and that went into poetry when I got older. But yeah, it's really interesting. We are natural conduits for the energy. There's no doubt about that.
Oh, yeah.
It's really amazing.
Oh, definitely.
And that's why I think it's really important to keep your vessel as aligned with spirit as you can and not distorted by, you know, these lower astral junkyards, I like to call them, because that's pretty much what it is. And from what I've seen from day to day, just observing humanity, it seems like there's nothing but debris of negative lower astral junk that's just saturating everybody's energetic fields.
Yep. I mean, look at what's happening in our society. I mean, talking about, you know, the junk and, you know, the negative energy. You know, you work all day, you know, for very little money. You've got bills piling up. You turn on the TV, there's always bad news. The economy is crashing. There's violence. There's shootings, and everything else. And, that will affect a person's psyche.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
That will literally drain them. It's like, eating a very starchy meal every day. You're going to just get weighed down. You're going to feel like, crap. You're not going to be there.
Yeah.
And, you're going to be disconnected.
Totally. And also, think about all the dirty electricity as well. And so they're getting bombarded by so many different things besides just the drama of life and the illusion of life.
God, yeah. You've got all these chemtrails that's being, put in the atmosphere, which I wouldn't be surprised if that's affecting some of our weather.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty sure the government is definitely messing around with the EMS fields.
Oh, I know they are. I'll have to send you my documentary, by the way. That reminds me I need your address later. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, there's a lot of things that's going on that people are not aware.
Exactly. Yeah, they're oblivious. Yep. They're half asleep.
Yep.
And I feel sorry for them on some levels. I can't really blame them because it's been censorship since day one. They've been, deprived of information, the correct information. They've been used as pawns on this game board, the chessboard of life. So, unfortunately. But, the thing is we can change our reality. We can change it all overnight through consciousness, and we can turn the TVs off, and we can switch and, be healthier and be more in alignment with spirit so that there's no hostility. So we can change all these dynamics and all this polarization. It can be reversed. But, getting people to do that takes a lot of self-discipline to break away from the programs.
Exactly. You don't need a fancy, meditation program where, you sit down and you're doing chantings and drum ceremonies. It can take 5 minutes. Sitting down, relaxing, turn everything off, breathing deeply, just focusing on the good and putting the intention out there.
Yep.
And it does work. Look at the monks over in Asia, where they can change their body. Things like that. It can happen. It's just people don't want to try.
Exactly. And once again, it does take discipline. It's a lifestyle. It's not just a one-time thing, though. It is a lifestyle. It's a change in consciousness, but you have to ride that wave of consciousness, and not divert over into the other coarse, fields of energy. Not that we can't, but it's better to stay in the smoother areas. I like surfing the nicer realms myself.
Exactly. Like I said before, we're now a society of, the McDonald's drive-thru society. I want it within the next 5 minutes. I don't want to work for it.
Exactly.
Give it to me. And I'm sorry, if you want something, you have to give up things you have to work at.
Absolutely.
You got to do it over and over and over again.
Yep. Repetition.
Totally. Yep. And don't be afraid to fail. There's times when I'm trying to do meditation, excuse me, and I can't do it. There's nothing there.
Right.
But keep going, and you keep going until you get back into that rhythm.
Oh, absolutely. And even if it takes on another form, like martial arts or painting or music or anything, you're channeling energy in another direction that's a form of meditation in a different way.
Yep.
And that, too, can be very productive.
I think, and you hit on a really interesting thing. I've noticed that people who are really into the arts, music, writing, poetry, songwriting, building, whatever, they're more open to the universe. Because they're seeing that universe come in and do, free thinking outside the box.
Oh, yeah.
Versus someone who's, very technical minded, who works on computers with certain set hobbies. You don't find people like that who are open into the paranormal who can channel. It's always those who are very artistic-like abilities.
Yeah, there has to be a balance for sure. And that's part of our natural wiring, to be like that. We are the conduits, transmitters, and receivers. It's just about going to the higher overtones so we're not pulling in all the unnecessary, disembodied entities. And, I don't know why anybody would want to be hooked into that whole thing. It's just non-productive on so many levels.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I appreciate the work you're doing, though. I really do. And when you said, I know you went over to England and did some investigations over there. Which area did you investigate, and what facility?
We hit a couple of places. We hit a place called the Rams Inn. Excuse me. The Rams Inn is located in Walton under Edge, which is southwest of England, over just south of Wales. And this house was built on a pagan burial ground.
Cool.
And it's a 13th century house, so it's tied into the Mayflower, to the people who backed the Mayflower, which is really interesting. Also, in that whole area around Walton under Edge, Bath, England, is a very high area of pagans and witches. And they, covens in that area. And I saw this place on the TV show called Most Haunted. Again, we should never go after and emulate what you see on TV, but in this case, I had to go see it because I love old places, and the stuff that they claim that was happening there, I had to go see for myself. We get there, and the guy who lives there, his name is John Humphreys. He's been there for, I want to say, 40 years. And this place is literally falling down. I mean, it's a stone building. There's mice everywhere. I mean, it's really bad. This poor guy sleeps in a little cornered room by himself because he's afraid of the spirits in there. And one of the spirits in there is a cavalier, a witch, a child, a incubus, and a monk. Now, when we went there, I went there with an open mind. Oh, and also, the house is also on 4 ley lines that meet in the middle of the house.
Wow.
So it's like, there's a lot of stuff going on here.
Right.
I have to go visit.
And John, we're going to head for a break real quick. Everybody, we'll be right back with Ravenstar's Witching Hour and my special guest, John Savage. Stay tuned.